right, so what we got on this one is going to be a 2014 Nissan Altima. And a lot of times what'll happen with these is the car kind of starts skipping, and once you go to change out the coil or either the spark plugs, you'll see that it's kind of covered with oil. And a lot of people usually just kind of be like, okay, all right, well, let me change that spark plugs, and then, you know, it runs good until the oil come back. Because you're not supposed to have any type of oil inside of the spark plug cylinders, because what's going to happen is it's going to cause a skip, because you got oil and you got spark. Yeah, that don't mix. So what has to happen is the spark plug tube seals inside of the valve cover, along with the valve cover gasket, has to be changed out. Well, Nissan is a little different. Nissan has it set up to where you have to change out the whole valve cover, mainly because the valve cover itself is made of plastic. The tube seals that's inside there, whereas they usually is rubber and could be replaced along with the valve cover gasket, is a hard plastic. So on Nissan, so far they're the only ones that I ran into where you have to change out the whole valve cover. So that's what we're going to do today. It's not really a hard job. It can be a little time consuming, but for the most part it's pretty much straightforward. I did probably at least about 10 of these, so it's not really a hard job for me to do. I would say if it was your first time doing it, just be very careful and kind of remember everything that you took off. But other than that, it's not really a hard job. I know the older Nissans and Toyotas back in the day, they had a bunch of vacuum lines and stuff like that you had to take off and remember where it goes, and you know, all that good stuff. Well, now they don't have it set up that way, which is good, because usually if you have a lot of vacuum lines, at some point they're going to either split or break. So it's a good thing they got rid of that. And Nissan pretty much have a pretty good design. The only problem that really plagues the Nissans is the transmissions. Yeah, that CVT transmission is something else. But for the most part, the engines are designed well. Fun fact, the 4-cylinders actually has 2 thermostats. Just in case you didn't know, they has 2 thermostats. They have one right over here, and then they have one right over in this area. So yeah, they designed pretty good. Sometimes I wonder about these engineers, what be going through their mind when they designing stuff, because sometimes they could be designing something and you be like, what were you thinking? But for the most part, Nissan has a few what was you thinking things going on with it, but for the most part it does pretty good. I know a few people that has them. So the other guy that worked here with me, he was like, you're a pro at Nissan. It was like, I don't know about all that, but I guess I work on them enough to be a professional of one. But yep, that's what we have going on today. So don't know if you can see it that good, but as you see, you got this big old aluminum thing, and yeah, that's gonna have to come up in order to get that off of there too. So stay along for the ride. I may speed it up in certain spots just to make sure that the video is not too long, but for the most part, it's not a hard job. Let's see, can I make that happen right there? Oh, I did. Excellent. Turn it around. Now it's easier. So yep, that's what we have going on this morning. So wanted to kind of come in a little early and start on it because got a full schedule coming in today, and the shop is not that big, so didn't want to be in the way of the other guy as well, because I think he has a good bit coming in too. Lately has been rather slow, but God always provide. That's one thing about him, he always provides. So hey, so that's one of those lines that was hardened, and yeah, but that's an easy fix. They sell plenty of that at the parts store, so if you stick around, you'll see us replace it. While I'm thinking about it, I could actually leave that on there because that's on the old valve cover, so that would be fine. All right, so what we want to do now that we have that out the way, let's go ahead and start pulling these bolts out so we can pull the coils out. I talked to this customer probably maybe a month ago, and he had told me that another person had did the spark plugs on it, and the one that did it couldn't figure out why the spark plugs was full of oil. And I was like, that's easy, tube seals are bad. It's like, oh, I could just get a valve cover gasket. No, not on Nissan. Nissan wants you to get the whole valve cover. It's like, okay, all right, well, that's cool. So that's what he did, and that's how we got here today. All right, so that one is dry. And that's never a good sign. Let's see about this one. Okay, that one's dry. A little rusty, but dry. And let's see about number one. Number one was already up. So if you look right there, you can see it's got a good bit of oil on it. So we want to clean that up. So what's going to happen is when it starts up for the first time after we do this, it's going to smoke pretty bad, because once I loosen up this spark plug, the oil that's just sitting on top of that spark plug is going to go down into the cylinders, which after that and that's dry, is going to go out of the exhaust. All right, so we'll leave the cap on for now. All right, so now we'll go ahead and start to loosen it up. Oh wow, this one is super loose, or is it the 14? This might be the 14. Might be the 14 millimeter. All right, so with your spark plugs, they have 14 millimeter, or shall I say 9/16s now, and they also have 5/8, and this one is the 9/16. So okay, that's fine. Okay, that one was a little bit tighter than the other one, but it wasn't over tightened, so that's a good thing. All right, got that there. And with this one, as you can see, when I pull it out, you can see all that oil. All right. So, if you ever see that, when you're changing out your spark plugs, or you see that all over the coil, now you know what you got to do. And if it's not a Nissan, it may be a little bit cheaper, because you'll be able to get by with just changing out the valve cover gasket with tube seals. Not all of them come with the tube seals, so a lot of times you have to specify yeah, that one was a little over tight. And let's see how much oil will come off of that. Okay, as you can see. All right. But yeah, sometimes you have to specify that you want it with the spark plug tube seals. Some people say that you don't always need them if they're not leaking. My thing is if you taken all that time to pull them out, pull the valve cover out, just go ahead and replace it and be done with it. As you can see, that it's got some dripsies. All right. So that one that was in the middle, I kind of don't really like that, the way that looks, because it kind of looks a little stripped. So let me try something right quick. Let me put a different one in there. Drop it in there and then get a turning on it to see and make sure it's not stripped out. And it's going in rather smooth, so it's not stripped out. All right, so that means we won't have any surprises when we get ready to put the new spark plugs in, which these was Autolite. I don't recommend Autolite, especially not in a Nissan. If you want it to run correctly, and if you want it to last, stay away from Autolite. Autolite is actually pretty good. It's more of a universal plug. A lot of times it's going to be a lot cheaper than the actual plug that's supposed to go to it. So for like Nissan, Toyota, Honda, different ones like that, your imports is going to be NGK. Chevy is going to be AC Deco. Ford is going to be Motorcraft. And usually your Mercedes, different ones of that such, is usually Bosch. But a lot of them are starting now to convert over to the NGK, which I think is a whole lot better. I like those better. All right. So this bad boy here is going to have to come off because right now, well, okay, cool. I was able to just loosen it. It's in the way of my valve cover bolt, which is now loose. Usually Chrysler, it's going to be either Mopar or Champion. Now for Toyota as well, you do have another one, which is a Denso. Denso is actually pretty good as well for Toyota. Some of them recommend that's what you use. All right, so got the fan on. It's a little hot, so if you hear any fan noises, that's where it's coming from. All right, so with this, I think I should have a 10 millimeter. Yep. So what we're going to do as well is, since we have to take the valve cover off anyway, we're going to go ahead and change out the engine mount because that has to be partially taken off in order to do what we need to do. So in a few minutes we're going to roll the jack up under it and proceed with jacking up the vehicle. What you want to do is when you put the jack up under there, it's going to have to go up under the engine. So what you want to do is find a nice piece of block of wood, and that way you won't damage anything up under there. And you don't want to jack it up too much on there, just enough to where it kind of kisses it and holds it. And that should be good enough. You definitely don't want to bend the oil pan because that will cause other problems, especially with the new Toyotas. Had a customer that had a Toyota in here, and yeah, let's just say they bent up the oil pan pretty good, and yeah, it didn't end too well. All right, so we're going to try and be able to do this without having to take the exhaust off. I mean, not the exhaust, but the AC, without having to evacuate the AC. So we're moving right along. Hope y'all are having a good day today. So far mine's starting off pretty good because everything is working properly like it should. Sometimes cars give you a fit. Sometimes they be like, okay, fix me. So far this one is saying, okay, fix me. All right, so let's go with a lower profile jack. That way we could get up under there. I could use a different block of wood. Okay. Gonna have to use a different block of wood. This one is not gonna work. It's not small enough. Oh no. So the main thing that usually fail on the engine mounts the most is they call it a torque strut mount. Some of the old school people call it a dog bone mount, which it does look like a dog bone mount as well. So that's also something that you can call it as well. But if you go to the parts store, then you want to call it a torque strut mount. Because if not, if it's one of those people that doesn't know about a car and just kind of know about the computer and how to look stuff up, yeah, they're gonna be like, we don't sell that. And you're gonna be like, yeah, you do. And then once you tell them it's a torque strut mount, then they're gonna be like, oh, there it is. All right, so we got the jack up under there, and it's just enough. All right. If I remember correctly, some of these will be 17, some of them will be a 14. Going to need a ratchet, and also going to need my impact gun. All right, so let's go ahead and get going on that. $17, $14, let's take a 19 just in case. I don't remember it being a 19, but hey. All right, so thinking over here. Okay. All right, so let's try 18. Okay, correction. It was 18, which is on the torque strut mount I was just telling you about, and it's a 16. And I'm also going to get a wrench and a 14, because the one that holds on the torque strut mount is going to be a little tight trying to get a ratchet in there, so definitely going to want to use a wrench. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that one is also going to be a 18. So let's double check. Okay. Alright, won't loosen up properly. That's no problem. Let's do it old school. 2 wrenches together. Gotta be careful with that, because sometimes it can slip. And yeah, won't feel too good. Especially not on your knuckles. Alright, so that's loose like we want it. I think what we'll do is go ahead and try and get this one loose as well. Yeah, that one's definitely bad. It's moving the whole rubber piece. Once I get it off, I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right. So what we'll do now, just let me get my other friend that makes life a little easier, the ratchet. Okay, that made it a whole lot easier. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll sit a bolt a certain way. That way I'll know, hey, that goes to that, or that goes to that. Just one of the ways of helping my OCD. All right, so these here, we're going to have to take these loose, and I believe they're going to be a 12, possibly a 13, but I'm thinking a 12. I'll bring both just in case, because I'm going to have to lift that up some. Okay, 13, which is unusual for Nissan. It's not often they put 13 or 15 or something like that on there, but usually you'll have like a like a 12, a 17, a 14, a 19, something like that. Especially on Toyotas. All right, so I might have not have had to take that loose. Let me go get my ratchet wrench. And what I'll do with that is I'll loosen it up with that. Yep, that's the faithful alarm.
Okay, I switched off your alarm.
Well, thank you. Let's make sure that that one's off. Okay. All right, excellent. Excellent. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this going. This one is a slightly different from, I think the last one I did was a 2010, but it's still similar to the same thing. I think they made like a few minor changes, but nothing really big. All right, so what I want to do now, I'm going to leave that where it's at, and let me see about getting this part of the mount loose, and let's see what happens. Right, so you see how it slightly fell? That's kind of how you want it, because a lot of times what'll happen is if it falls too much on there, yeah, you don't want that. These should be rather long right here. All right. So we got these. And we can just kind of sit those there because we know where they're going to go. Let's jack up the engine just a little bit for comfort. All right. So we got that. What we could kind of do now, this short one, let me sit it here. That way, I'll kind of remember that one's sitting there. It's the short one, because I believe the other ones are going to be longer than that one. If I'm not mistaken, definitely could be mistaken. We shall see here in a little bit. Okay, so that one's short. That one's short. I think this one is the long. Yep, that's the long. So the long, we'll sit that there. The short, we'll put the two back here. That we'll know is close to that. Let me see if that's the same size. That's the same size, so we'll put all three of those there. That way they all is in the same house. And we got two 14s right there. Let's go ahead and pull those off. All right, those are long too, like the other ones. So let's see. And we do have a few bolts up under this, which is why we had to take it off of there. Okay, so now what we want to do, we have a nut that's up under here. So what we want to do, separate this line just a little bit. It is a little flexible, so that's a good thing. Probably could use a shorter one on here. Let's try that. Let's use a shorter one, because the extension is going to be a little thinner. So with that being a little thinner, might be able to get in there a little better. The good thing is it's not a long boat, so a shorty will work just good. All right, so now we have that. We can sit that right there off to the side. Okay, so we only have one nut. I'll put that between the three bolts. Again, that's just a way to kind of keep up with what I took off and where I took it off from. All right, so that's out the way. And now this bracket is out the way as well. All right. So now we have the valve cover fully exposed. Right, let's see. Maybe it'll just pull it off with this. Yep, there we go. And the good thing is with the new valve cover, usually it comes with the bolts. We'll check and see if this one do or not. This one was bought local. They usually purchase them off Amazon, and usually Amazon send new boats, which is always great. All right, we have that. Have this one over here that was hiding. All right, so we're just about there. What we'll do is we'll put those bolts up there. pull those off right there. Do I have one more? Nope, that's it. Okay. All right, so I had one that dropped. I'm gonna make it easy on myself. And I'm gonna use the magnet instead of it falling even further. Oh, two dropped. Well, thank God. Found both of them. Rule of thumb is if you drop a boat, search for it. Because it can easily get lost inside the engine somewhere and you do not want that. Right, so what we got is we're going to go ahead, because once we get to the point of pulling the valve cover off and putting the new one on there, putting the mount back on, this right here bolts directly into that big thing. So we'll go ahead and focus on getting this out. And then the valve cover will be pretty easy. All right, so this boat is a little long, so probably speed that up a little bit. But that's the reason why we take a loose the this little piece here, because I may have to do what I usually do and get the pry bar and pry that up some. That way when I get ready to pull that out, we good to go. Right. And once I get to, let's see, I may go ahead and pull that too. That way, when I get to that point, don't have much to do on that part either. I know the other boat is directly up under this, so I can't pull that off just yet. All right. So that boat is out. And what I'll do is I'll sit that one over here. This one is now out. And it's a long one. So I'll sit that over here as well. All right. So let's move back to this so that we could get it on out completely. And we keep on moving forward. Let's say the boat is rather long, so let me get the pry bar and we'll keep on trucking. All right, so we'll put that up under there. That should give us enough room to pull that out. Gonna need some more room. Okay. What about now? Nope. Need more room. Okay. No problem. What about now? And there we go. Now sit that right there. This should slide out. Okay, so that piece of rubber, how I told you, was kind of moving. If you look right here, you can see it right there, how it's ripped. So yeah, that was definitely needed. All right, so we got that one. Before we put the new one in, we want to go ahead pull out this other bolt. And we'll put this other bolt down here as well, along with his brother. All right, so let's see. See if we could talk this part into coming out of here without any trouble. And don't look like that's going to happen. So we might have to force our way. But it's going to be in a good way. We're not going to force it to where we break something. That's the last thing we want to do on customer cars. But sometimes it need a little, just a little help to know what you want it to do. Sometimes it cooperate. Sometimes it say, nope, not happening. So let's see what this one say. So far it's saying nope, not happening. But let's see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it would be easier for me to go ahead and take a look at the AC. But let me try all to exhaust all of my options first. Before I just decide to take a loose the AC. Because I may have a little flex if I take a loose this bracket here. And if that gives me just enough flex, I will be happy. That's one less step I would have to do. All right, look like my 9 o'clock is running late, which is a good thing, because that kind of give me a head start on getting this just about where I want it before I have to stop and work on another one. Let me see if I take the engine up some. What if I drop it? Let's see if I drop it down. Let's try dropping it down and see what happens. The fun part of cars. When you try to take a shortcut, sometimes it'll let you. Sometimes it'll be like, now you know, there's no way that's gonna happen. And then sometimes you'll get a car that be like, all right, I'm done fighting. Okay, that was the block of wood. Okay, so almost there. And we're there. So that's out of there. All right, so let's see which box. There we go, found it, first try. Oh, that's excellent. Okay, so we got that, and let's see, will it let me flip it over? Come on. You let the old one flip you over. Come on, let the new one flip you over. Come on. Come on. Just think, if you let me go ahead and flip you over, you'll be done. And you won't have to be moved for a while. The more you fight, the more it's gonna hurt. Cool. And I'm watching the lines and everything. That's got clearance. That's got clearance. That's got clearance. I think we did it. I think we did it. Yep. We in there now. All right. See what happened when you cooperate. All right. Let me get you back seated into your new home. And I won't bother you no more. Hopefully, I won't have to bother you for some years. Unless the customers sell it. Then, if they sell it, I won't be the one bothering you. It'll be somebody else. Yes, I talk to cars. And yeah, it's rather fun. Sometimes the car is not cooperating, and then you kind of talk to it and convinces it. All right, so there we'll go there. And then it works. All right, so now let's go ahead with our other engine mount. We'll put it right there. Now with this one, bend it upward, and there we go. Pull on it to make sure. Yep, it started. All right, and I got a little ahead of myself because we still got this other boat over here. So let's see. It's kind of at an angle, but let's see if it'll be nice to me. Oh, it was. Thank God. Okay. So we got that. And got that one. All right. We're coming along pretty good. So what I'll do, leave that like that. Let's go ahead and make this happen with the valve cover. I don't need this right here. So we can lightly just come to the corners and lightly pull up. This may be a little too thick. Nope, worked. All right, so we got that, middle, and edge. All right, so now we're good to go. Let's see if we could just, push that out the way. And then what we want to do is just go ahead and slide this up, and it's out of there. All right. So we'll go ahead and drop this inside of the box. First, let's show you what we're talking about the seals. All right, so if you look right here, kind of can't really see them, but they're plastic. There's no rubber inside of there. The only thing that's rubber is this gasket, and this thing flattened, so. There's not even any rubber there. So, yeah. And hopefully you heard that because I was like right in front of the fan doing that. So I apologize if you didn't hear it. Mainly what I was doing was showing you the hard plastic that is inside of there, which is why I say you have to change out the whole valve cover. All right, so we got our new spark plugs, which is NGK. Love when a customer listen. Sometimes you can get them and they'll be like, I don't really want to go with that one, and they'll complain to you later that it's not working properly. Yeah. So a lot of times what I do is I'll lightly drop it inside the cylinder. And then, of course, you want to spin it slowly with just an extension, which I'll show you that is here in a few minutes, just to get it started. And just easily drop it in there. Your finger shouldn't get stuck inside there. There's plenty of clearance. So usually I just kind of guide it in there till it fall. And let's see. Let's do the same one here. Guide it in there till it fall. All right. So this right here, if you look, this is the long piece, is what you call the extension. The one at the end is the socket. All right. So just slowly turn that. That's starting good. Slowly turn this. It's starting good. Slowly turn this one. Now it's starting good. And then slowly turn this one. And that's starting good. And that's what you want. You want to get it started good. Because I've seen people that just throw them in there and then take the gun and just run it in there. So what I do with the gun is I lightly run it down until I hear it stop. Lightly. Lightly. And lightly. Again, this third cylinder was the one that I had problems with. So I don't really like that cylinder too much because it doesn't feel like it should. But it did go in without binding and nothing broke off. So that's a great sign. Great sign. It shows that they didn't strip it out completely, but I think they might have got it too tight when they did it. Alright, I'll put that to the side so I can show the customer when they come to pick it up. Alright, a lot of times I'll use a short ratchet like this one, and that way then it won't put too much torque on it, but it'll put enough. Alright, that one's tight. That one's tight. And that's mainly what you want to do, is just kind of get them to where they tight, and don't really try to hammer down on them because they spark plugs. So okay, so now what we want to do is kind of clean the gasket mating area. And with this one, I won't have to do much because it's not really dirty. It's a little greasy, but not really dirty. And it looks like the gasket areas that they put some gasket sealer on it, look like those from the factory is still good. So I'm going to leave those the way that they are. And now that's clean. You are clean through the word that I have spoken unto you. So now that that's clean, and you want to wipe away from the engine because you don't want this to get inside any of the cylinders or anything like that. So always wipe away. Even if you spray, then you want to kind of put some paper towels or a rag in there to where nothing will get inside the cylinders. So you want that to stay as clean as possible. Always like to look at the gasket just to make sure it's seated. As you can see, the tube seals, which are these, they look good as well. So now you can just take this, and you can do it with one hand. Just take it and kind of guide it in there. Now the part that's going to be a little tricky is getting it over these tube seals for the first time. Sometimes you have to use a little force, but it went on. That's actually the best it ever went on for me. So all right. And of course, O'Reilly didn't send bolts with the valve cover, which is no problem. We can reuse the old bolts. And all of them are the same size. So what I usually do is just start working them in there. And of course, you want to get them started. right, so let's slide this over again. That way we can get that slided. So mainly what this is this right here. The plastic cover, the engine cover, is what it holds down. So, all right, so what we're going to do is go ahead and kind of snug them down. Just use an extension in the socket, and just kind of snug them down. And these are 10 millimeter, by the way, just in case you wanted to know. Right, so we started over there. We'll go to this one. Then we'll go to this one. Because you want it to seat evenly. I didn't check to look up and see if it had a certain sequence. But I think this actually will be fine because it's seating evenly. And then I'll go ahead and start tightening it down afterwards. And I usually just hand tighten them with the ratchet. I haven't had a problem with that. So I'm pretty sure it's probably a torque spec, but I haven't had a problem with it, so no leakage or anything like that, which I always double check and triple check just to make sure there's no leaks. That's a great rule of thumb to have, is to always go back, double check, and even if you feel that you double check, give it a triple check. You can never be too sure. Because when it leaves your facility, it needs to be right. And that's what the customer's paying for, so that's what they're expecting. Since we are the professionals. Alright, so that's snug just like the other ones. Okay. Make sure to get this one snug. The coils for the most part look good. The one that was wet with oil looked pretty new, so worst case scenario, he could go and warranty those out. All right, so a lot of times what I like to do is, you can see I was using the lone ratchet, so I like to go down to a smaller ratchet when it's something like this, just so it's not over tightened. I have seen a lot of people mess up the coil bolts and stuff like that because they just try to hammer down on it and get it super tight, and yeah, then the next person that's got to work on it have to go and tell the customer, hey, whoever worked on it last tighten it up too tight, now it's stripped out. And sometimes it makes you look like the bad guy because you got to give them the bad news, and they're like, well, it wasn't like that before. So always use a smaller ratchet and just kind of feel when it's tight, which is right there. Tight, tight. 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 And one thing I always do is always go back over them just to make sure that I got every single one of them. Because there's nothing like getting it back together and then the bolts up under the engine mount is loose. So, yeah. Let me make sure this one is tight up under here. Yep, it's tight. That one's tight. I'm gonna go back through all of them right quick. Tight. Oh, missed one. Tight. 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 And tight. All right. So now that those are tight, your spark plugs are in. You can actually, if you want, start putting your coils back in. Like I said, I do know I gotta change out that hose over there, so that will definitely get done. All right, that's the bolt there. So we'll just go ahead and take care of that. And that one. And that one. And the good thing is you could get to all of the bolts for the coils. You can get to all of them, even with the engine mount back on there. So thank you, Nissan. You don't have to pull off the engine mount just to get to the number one spark plug. All right, so this, go ahead and pop that back on. A lot of times I like to put grease on the end of them so they could go back on properly, but hey, that one went right on with no problem, so we're good to go there. Let's go ahead and slide these in here. Slide that back in there and slide that in there. All right, so on the old valve cover, the oil cap was still on. It didn't come with a new one, so we'll go ahead and pop that on there now and go from there. All right, take a quick picture, send it to the customer, show them the progress. All right, so now let me go back through here again just to make sure. You can never be too sure. All right, well, let's go ahead and get the big mama jamma back on, which is this one first. Come on. Come on. Come on. There you go. All right, so this bolt here slides right into there. So let's see if we can get that started. And that way, when we start tightening up the other bolts, it'll pull the engine up. All right, so 18. Excellent. It did start. All right. So let's go ahead and do our lone 14s, which is right here at the front. Let's go ahead and get those started. Get that one started. These over here at the side, let's go ahead and get those started as well. And what we'll do is go ahead and kind of ease those in there. Okay. And this one here. Okay. So, with those, what I want to do is go ahead and kind of tighten those up. Mainly the back ones, because I don't remember if I can still see those once the cover is over it. Oops, that slipped just a little. Okay, that's tight. All right, so the front ones remind me I gotta tighten them. All right, so now let's take our other bracket. And this is going to really pull it up. Okay, so let's take our nut. A lot of times when you change out these engine mounts, the new rubber sometimes don't act as it should. It's a little stiff. All right, so with this one, since we got this started, we're gonna ease it down on that one, because you don't want to put too much force on there and then pull something out that shouldn't be pulled out. All right, yeah, you don't want to pull out any threads. Let's see. Okay, so that's coming up. Excellent. All right, so what we're gonna have to do, okay, that's going to have to come up a little more, because we got to have some wiggle room to kind of line up these other ones. Let's see how much room I need. Okay, that's kind of sideways. All right. No problem. All right, so let's take our 18, our short 18. There we go, right there. And what we want to do is we want to slightly take that down. Not too much, but slightly, because we're going to have to maneuver it a little bit. All right. All right, one of those situations where you're going to have to convince it to sit right. That's fine. Alright, so pry bar, where did I put you? Oh, gotta figure out what I did with the pry bar. It's probably somewhere looking at me and laughing, like, haha, you can't find me. Good thing is I have another one. So, worst case scenario, I can pull that one out instead. Woohoo! Alright. I'm pretty sure I'll find the other one once I start using this one. Be like, hey, I'm over here. Be like, hey, I couldn't find you. Alright. So, now with that, I just need to get it to where it starts. And I need to get it to where it starts good. Because you don't want it, like I say, you don't want it cross-threading. And you don't really want it going in at an angle either. Because that can kind of mess up what you're trying to do. Okay. So now let's see. Okay. And there you go. So now let's loosen that up just enough, because we got to get the other ones lined up. All right. Okay, so let's loosen that up. Let's loosen that up. Okay. So now what we got to do a little more convincing. Which this convincing shouldn't be too hard now, because it sees that all the other ones then got put in line. So it has no choice but to get put in line or else. And there it goes. Engine just came up. That's exactly what we like to see. All right. So now we can move our jack, because it has served this purpose. All right, this right here, let's go back over this to make sure this is good to go. Okay, this is good. All right, so we use the other 18 to pull that other piece in. All right, so now let's go back over the other mounts. Well, the other bolts. And let's see, that's the 14. So while I got the 14, let me see. Okay. Okay. So that's tight. Excelente. While I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and do that. that, that. And as you can see, I'm lightly running them in there. So, like I say, you definitely don't want to run it in there too hard, because you never know. You might be the next person who's working on it again. Alright, so now that we got that, let's go ahead and run this one on down. Alright, that's tight, but let's go ahead and make sure it's tight. Whenever you're dealing with the motor mount boats, you want to make sure. Double check, triple check, whatever you got to do to make sure that it's tight, because the engine give off a lot of vibration, and the last thing you want is to begin to call that something is vibrating that wasn't vibrating before, or worse, the engine falls down. It won't fall out because, you know, of course it has a cradle and everything like that, but it'll be pretty aggravating trying to put that mount back in there after it fell out. So the good thing is we got that. All we got to do is put the nut on this one. Where did you go? Where are you hiding? Where are you hiding? Where are you hiding? I know you're hiding. There you go. Found you. Okay. Yeah. Pretty hot today, but I thank God for another day. Thank God for another day, because, hey, you easily not see another day. Then you won't be able to complain, because you won't be here to complain. You won't feel anything. The dead knows nothing. Let's see here. So these was the 13 millimeters. All right, cool. So I got enough clearance to go ahead and tighten this up. Excellent. So those, I could tighten those up as well soon. So let's see how far I can run this down before I have to use the wrench to run it down even further. A lot of times that's what you do is, if it's loose, just run it down with your finger. Well, fingers. And then once it starts to get a little tight where you can't twist it with your hand, then you bring in some reinforcements. And that one's starting to get a little tight. So reinforcement is needed. And that's when the trusty wrench come in. And there's not really that much room to really swing it, so just twist until it gets tight. One thing about cars, it will teach you patience. I can tell you that. But so far, everything on here worked like it should. And it wasn't too hard to change anything other than the mount wanted to give me a fit. But for the most part, it even did what it's supposed to do. It's not always like that. I had a Nissan Murano. Yeah, took me about 12 hours. Some of the bolts was rusted off, so I had to break them off, re-drill them, re-thread them. Yeah. And all it came in was for struts and lower control arms. Just about 4-hour job, somewhere around there. Yeah, this one had to be rusted out. But the customer was pretty cool and pretty understanding. And she was happy I stayed late and got it taken care of. And like I told her, the main thing is want the customer safe. And those struts was definitely worn out pretty bad. And that's mainly what the bolts broke off in. And of course with the Nissan, they have bolts inside of their struts. I don't know if you can see it from over there, but they actually have bolts inside their struts. So if the bolts get rusty, guess what's going to happen? Yeah, you guessed it. They're going to break off. Oh yeah. And that's never fun. But hey, customer's paying you for a job. Just got to get it done one way or the other. It's always good when you have an understanding and patient customer. That makes our life a lot easier when we're working on cars. Because you got to think, we're working on a hot car. And the sun is hot out there. And then the car be stubborn. And then the customer's stubborn. Oh yeah, you're in for a pretty rough day. But I thank God, majority of my customers are understanding and patient, and they know at the end of the day I'm going to get them taken care of, and I'm going to do the right thing to the car, because it's their safety. It's the second biggest investment that they're going to make in their life is their car. That car get them from work to home to school. You know, they got kids, got to pick them up from school, and the kids are riding in there, they're riding in there. So really, when you're working on a customer car, really think about all that, because sometimes we can forget and be like, all right, I'll just do it this way. No, make sure that what you're doing is going to be safe for the customer and the occupants, whether it's a male or a female. All right, so we found our hose, and we're going to go back with some fuel line. I like the fuel line better because the fuel line doesn't break down from the fumes as quick as the crankcase hose, which is what was on there originally, which that lasted, and it, you know, it did its job until it couldn't anymore. But now it's time to change it out, and I just got to find my hose cutters, because I do want to cut it as straight as I can. But, you know, those just, you know, kind of like a tidbit. Just take care of the customer car and take care of it. I wouldn't even say take care of it as if it's your own, because a lot of us technicians don't really take care of our own cars because we're too busy taking care of other people's cars. So I would say take care of it to the best of your ability, and always do your absolute best. Because the thing is, they're going to go and they're going to tell somebody else about your work, and that other person going to tell somebody else. And you want what they're telling them to be good. Of course, occasionally you're going to have some of those that's not really going to understand. And then they're gonna tell every family member that they know and some. And yeah, just don't let it be because of something that you cause. Cause yeah, people will talk. Either way they're gonna talk. They're gonna type. And whatever else it is that they're gonna do. But the main thing is just make sure you're taking care of the customer. That's the tip that I would give anybody. Yep, that's about it. So we got our new hose on. Well, almost. And what we're about to do is transfer the clamp over to that one. And as you can see, it's the same size as what was on it. So now what we want to do, we're not going to do it this way like this. So what we want to do is kind of cut it, I would probably say about right, let me try right here. And let's see how it does. Okay, so that's actually good because it comes up, not too far up, and there's no kinks in it because you definitely don't want any kinks. Mainly what the kinks is when the hose bends to the point to where it kind of closes. You don't want that type of kink. All right. And now we got our new hose set up. And we got our hose clamp on it. And let's drop that down on there. And we're good to go. All right, so now let's go ahead and do our other clamps while we're right here. And with these clamps, in all possible, you want to put them back exactly in the same spot that they was already at, especially with coolant hoses. All right, so that's the old hose. And we could go ahead and put that over there. All right, so now what we want to do is make sure that this is good. All right, so I don't believe I double checked this one, the bolt into the mount. So let's go ahead and do that. Once we do that, we can go ahead and put our coolant overflow back. Okay, that's tight. So we're good to go. All right, so now coolant overflow time. So yep, we're just about done with this job, and we're going to try and do more videos like this. I'm also going to try and get more camera angles. This one I was just trying to get it out before my other appointment came. So I just kind of put it stationary. But in the other videos, we're going to try to do a little more educational. And we also are going to try and get more camera angles, because sometimes it make it a little more interesting. You get to see what I see. All right, so we got everything tight, and we're going to try and start it up and see how it do. Before I had a bad misfire, so it may run a little rough upon startup, but it should level out. And yeah, so mainly I'm going to need the key in order to do that, because of course I can't do that without the key. So let me figure out where the key is, because they parked it yesterday when I was at my part-time job. So just gotta go and find the key, and then we'll be able to start this car up and see what it does. Oh, okay. Right there on the dash. Found it. Found it. Found it. Okay. So it is actually running, and it's running pretty good already. So that's a good thing. While I'm at it, let me go ahead and change out this battery inside the light. So it may get a little dark for a few seconds or more. And now, there we go. Cool. All right, so we got that good to go. And it's running good. And it is smoking in the back though. Just like I figured it would. But all that will definitely burn off. That's nothing to be alarmed about because, like I said, it'll burn off with no problem. And so yeah. So I appreciate you coming along for the ride, and hopefully you learned something. Comment below if you want to see more videos like this where we kind of slow it down instead of speeding it up, and actually kind of talk about cars. All right, so as always, appreciate your support, and the main thing is to always keep God first in whatever you do. All right, we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.